So I will also begin by thanking all the institutions we have who have helped us for this conference to be attended. So Antonio Pisso for his warm welcoming and help from this institution, the AR, and the AAR, which is the Spanish School of Arabic Studies in Granada, where Maria was attached, affiliated, and the help of the gestioner, of the administrator Abel Diaz, and the IFPO Beirut. So the initiative of my part of the conference was Pauline Kotchet, the director of the Arabic medieval studies, and the help and support, very important, of the co-director of the IFPO Beirut from the Archaeological and History of Antiquity, Dominique Pierry, and Eric Coignard was the administrator at the IFPO also, and the UMR 8067, which is a mixed research and university center in Paris with a lot of institutions. And I had the strong support of Vincent Desroches from the Byzantines and Jean-Pierre Van Stevel from Medieval Islam, and their administrator Abdelali Aouka, and the support of Françoise Brucal-Châtenay from the Monde Sémitique that I thank in person, and the help of Marie-Véronique Diamant, the administrator from there, who was very, very, very kind and very efficient. So I will try to present very rapidly, very short historiographical presentation of the inspiration of this conference that had begun with La Syrie de Byzance à l'Islam. It was a conference in the early 1990s. And also there were many conferences in the early 21st century on the settlements issues between late antiquity and early Islam. So a problem of continuity, transition, change, breaks between late antiquity and early Islam. And this is the chronological approach of this conference. And later, Le Proche-Orient de Justinien aux Abbasides, again, on different historical and archaeological issues of this very interesting period and very complicated and sometimes a little bit difficult to apprehend. And the other axis is obviously on the confessional issues, the communal issues, the construction of the churches as institutions. Yeah. Oh, yeah? Sorry, because it was sharing here. I don't know. For Zoom. Sorry. I think it's, you're sharing this one? Okay. And so no. What is that? Okay, I understand. What's the problem? This is the problem. This is the problem. Okay, this is. No. What has happened?
What's this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and now what?
From there you can move it.
I don't understand what is happening. No. I think the problem is the screen you share. How do you come back to Zoom? Yeah. No, I want. I don't. Really, I don't get. Where is the Zoom? I need to. I need. I can feel this. Okay.
We don't share.
No. I will. No. Where was it? What did you do? What did you do?
We are watching that.
Go back to Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Is this the share screen? Okay. I think it's this one. So, is the sharing now? This one is not working. Okay, this is working. Okay, so we are back. So because it is working on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. So construction and use. Okay. So the problem of the conventional issues, the building of the churches as autonomous churches, for the most common Nestorian, Melkite churches, West Syrian or Syrian Orthodox churches, and thus we have this. We can benefit from this very important contribution of Les Églises Syriaques, directed by Françoise Briquet-Châtonnet and published in 2013. And most recently, the workshop of 19 in Erbil, which is published by Julie Boneric, Narmin Ali, and Barbara Coutureau, who were working on the Christianity in Iraq in the term of Islam. The title is not complete, sorry. So all this historiographical framework was at the beginning of my ID, and to confront historians, archaeologists, specialists of antiquity, late antiquity, and early Middle Age and Middle Age, and on the Syriac, Greek, Arabic sources, and obviously Latin sources now that we are in the Mediterranean geographical framework. So this is the chronological framework, the 7th and 8th century, and so we are in the beginning of the period is the Arab conquest. So from the 630s to the 720s, perhaps something like that, 1 century of conquest, and later the 8th and the 9th century, obviously, of consolidation of Islam. It is obviously a major break with the preceding Proto-Byzantine, Persian, Sasanian, Germanic, Gothic, Vandal periods. But the main issue is how is this break happen, and how can we see the continuity? So we have this very fast withdrawal of the Eastern Roman Empire from the East, Syria, Palestine, from Egypt, from Africa, from Hispania, and the Sasanian Empire that collapsed. So it's geopolitical, extremely important break. But is it a break also for Christianity? That's an issue that we have to find out. So we have the development of the Christianity in the East, obviously in Iraq, in Iran, Fars, the Gulf. They were not dominant during the Sasanian Empire, but they were rising and developing a lot. And this development is at its maximum, for example, in the 6th, in the 7th, and maybe in the 8th century. And you have this logical and legal and administrative and theoretical ideological framework imposed by the new Medinan state, the Ahl al-Islam from the one part and the Al-Ahdilma from the other part. So we have this framework, but we have this problem of historiography is that it's a little bit famous, but for the early Islam, Arab Muslim sources, we only can use late 8th and almost in any case 9th century sources. So they have this kind of myopia with early Islam, with the 7th century especially. And it's also the case for the Greek, Byzantine, and Syriac, and a lot of sources. We have a gap between the late antique literature of the 6th century and the Middle Age literature of the 9th century, at least for the historiographical point of view. And all agree on this ban, this forbidding, this prohibition of publicity of Christian worship, and especially of building new churches and monasteries. So that is the issue. And all this point of view is a point of view of the 8th and foremost for the 9th century, when we have a very important literature, but in a completely other intellectual and material and ideological, geopolitical context. So other themes, other terms, other styles. So how do we approach this long 7th century, and how do we approach the next period of the Marwanids and the Abbasid period, the fourth Fitna, and the Samarran and post-Samarran phase from the 9th century, or the literary stratum that Antoine Borut showed in his thesis, and how do we go to the early situation, what to do with the Shurut Omar, that is the very important and constitutional text, legal text that was considered as the paradigm of early Islam. And for example, this part of the Shurut Omar from the version of Abu Bakr Turtushi, the Spanish scholar, we have settled between you and us that we will not make new, neither in our cities nor in their surroundings, any monastery, church, cell, and tower, or any kind of recluse cell of monk. We will only restore what would have fallen into ruin, and that which would be located in the khitat of Muslims by day or by night. All that which is a khitat of Muslim is a prohibition also. So there is this paradigm: new churches and monasteries, urban or rural, within all the Islamic empire, the Dar al-Islam, are forbidden. And so at this point, for historians and archaeologists, it was obvious that any church could not have been built after the 630s, the 640s, in the West, obviously, in Central Asia, for example, until the early 8th century. But the state of archaeological knowledge is not in phase with this paradigm and is moving now. And in fact, also for historians of the text, the textual mentions does not agree with this state. So actually, the covenant, the so-called covenant of Omar, the Shurut Omariya, Shurut Omar, is not known before the 10th century, to be a little bit clear. And we have to thank Milka Levy-Rubin's work on this and the origin of the Shurut Omariya and the development and the combinations of these different ideas. But in general, we can say that before the late 9th century, and I shall say the 10th century, we don't have any complete list that in the Shurut Omariya. We have only a small list, and it concerns foremost the Muslim quarters, the Amsar. And Jean-Maurice Fier already, like 40 years ago, see this very strange gap and see the synchronicity between the destruction of churches and the early mentions of the bans in the legal literature. So he guessed that it was probably in Al-Mutawakkil time, and Milka Levy-Rubin also, so in the middle of the 9th century, and Milka Levy-Rubin also say that